Hello, welcome. This is day one of reading the Divine Comedy. We'll do Canto 1 today, but I wanted to also give you just a little bit of background on Dante himself. He was born in 1265 in Florence. He was from a noble family. He was very well educated, and you could see that throughout the text. He has references within his references to various historical figures, philosophers. Yeah, it's incredible just how much information and references and allusions he packs into his text. He was a poet and philosopher known for kind of bringing together classical philosophy with the Christian faith. Definitely not the first one to do it, but what is unique about that for him is that he also includes figures from classical mythology within his story as characters in hell or in purgatory or heaven. He includes real people in all these places as well, including some of his friends. He puts a good number of his friends in hell. Why is he doing all this? This is something of a, I will say, semi-fictional spiritual struggle of his. That's what this story is. It takes place in the year 1300 when he is exiled, and yet the entire, all the places he walks to are only, besides the dark wood at the very beginning, are spiritual places. Hell, purgatory, heaven, like I was saying. He was not trying to, nor should this be taken as an actually doctrinally accurate depiction of what these places are like, what these places look like, that is, how they're organized. But the realities of the sins and virtues that he does explore, that is largely accurate to what the Catholic faith teaches, just so that you know. I'm reading from the Longfellow translation, but we'll also be referencing the Mark Musa translation for some of my physical notes, as well as some really good observations that he makes. Inferno, Canto 1. Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself within a forest dark, for the straightforward pathway had been lost. Ah me, how hard a thing it is to say what was this forest savage, rough, and stern, which in the very thought renews the fear. So bitter is it, death is little more. But of the good to treat which there I found, speak will I of the other things I saw there. I cannot well repeat how there I entered, so full was I of slumber at the moment in which I had abandoned the true way. But after I had reached a mountain's foot, at that point where the valley terminated, which had with consternation pierced my heart, upward I looked, and I beheld its shoulders, vested already with that planet's rays which leadeth others right by every road. Then was the fear a little quieted, that in my heart's lake had endured throughout the night, which I had passed so piteously. And even as he, who, with distressful breath, forth issued from the sea upon the shore, turns to the water perilous and gazes, so did my soul, that still was fleeing onward, turn itself back to re-behold the pass which never yet a living person has left. After my weary body I had rested, the way resumed I on the desert slope, so that the firm foot ever was the lower. And lo, almost where the ascent began, a panther, light and swift exceedingly, which with a spotted skin was covered o'er. And never moved she from before my face, nay, rather did impede so much my way, that many times I to return had turned. The time was the beginning of the morning, and up the sun was mounting with those stars that with him were, what time the love divine at first in motion set those beauteous things. So were to me occasion of good hope, the variegated skin of that wild beast, the hour of time, and the delicious season. But not so much, that did not give me fear, a lion's aspect which appeared to me. He seemed as if against me he were coming, with head uplifted, and with ravenous hunger, so that it seemed the air was afraid of him. And a she-wolf, that with all hungerings seemed to be laden in her meagerness, and many folk has caused to live forlorn. She brought upon me so much heaviness, with the affright that from her aspect came, that I the hope relinquished of the height. And as he is who willingly acquires, and the time comes that causes him to lose, who weeps in all his thoughts and is despondent, e'en such made me that beast withouten pace, which, coming on against me by degrees, thrust me back thither, where the sun is silent. While I was rushing downward to the lowland, before mine eyes did one present himself, who seemed from long continued silence hoarse. When I beheld him in the desert vast, have pity on me, unto him I cried, whiche'er thou art, or shade or real man. He answered me, not man, man once I was, and both my parents were of Lombardy, and Mantuans by country both of them. Sub Julio was I born, though it was late, and lived at Rome under the good Augustus, during the time of false and lying gods. A poet was I, and I sang that just son of Anchises, who came forth from Troy, after that Ilion the superb was burned. But thou, why goest thou back to such annoyance? Why climbest thou not the mount delectable, which is the source and cause of every joy? Now, art thou that Virgilius, and that fountain which spreads abroad so wide a river of speech? I made response to him with bashful forehead. Oh, of the other poets' honor and light, avail me the long study and great love that have impelled me to explore thy volume. Thou art my master, and my author, thou. Thou art alone the one from whom I took the beautiful style that has done honor to me. Behold the beast for which I have turned back. Do thou protect me from her, famous sage, for she doth make my veins and pulses tremble. Thee it behooves to take another road, responded he, when he beheld me weeping, if from this savage place thou wouldst escape, because this beast, at which thou criest out, suffers not anyone to pass her way, but so doth harass him that she destroys him, and has a nature so malign and ruthless that never doth she glut her greedy will, and after food is hungrier than before. Many the animals with whom she weds, and more they shall be still, until the greyhound comes, who shall make her perish in her pain. He shall not feed on either earth or pelf, but upon wisdom and on love and virtue. Twixt Feltro and Feltro shall his nation be. Of that low Italy shall he be the savior, on whose account the maid Camilla died, Euryalus, Turnus, Nisus, of their wounds. Through every city shall he hunt her down, until he shall have driven her back to hell, there from whence envy first did set her loose. Therefore I think and judge it for thy best, thou follow me, and I will be thy guide, and lead thee hence through the eternal place, where thou shalt hear the desperate lamentations, shalt see the ancient spirits disconsolate, who cry out each one for the second death. And thou shalt see those who contented are within the fire, because they hope to come, whene'er it may be, to the blessed people. To whom, then, if thou wishest to ascend, a soul shall be for that than I more worthy. With her, at my departure, I will leave thee. Because that emperor who reigns above, in that I was rebellious to his law, wills that through me none come into his city. He governs everywhere, and there he reigns. There is his city and his lofty throne. O happy he whom thereto he elects. And I to him, Poet, I thee entreat, by that same God whom thou didst never know, so that I may escape this woe and worse, thou wouldst conduct me there where thou hast said, that I may see the portal of St. Peter, and those thou makest so disconsolate. Then he moved on, and I behind him followed. Now, obviously, the Longfellow translation is a little bit antiquated, lots of language that may be unfamiliar, a little bit hard to follow. So let me just give you a quick overview of what happened. Dante begins in a dark wood, metaphorical dark wood, dark time in his life. Says he's lost the true way. He's not following God. He's not living a good life. He is distracted. He is taken away from where he's supposed to be, where he should be going, heaven, by his sins, which are actually represented here in the story by the three beasts that block his way: the lion, the she-wolf, and the leopard. And they prevent him from going up the hill, which is implied to be heaven, the divine light, at the top. And the reason for that is because it is necessary for him to be purged of his sin before he can do that. Now, Mark Musa has a note where he tells us that he draws attention to the beginning of the poem, which is, he says, midway along the journey of our life, I woke to find myself in a dark wood. Two important things there. Midway, because at this time Dante is 35 years old, and in the Psalms we're told that man is allotted 70 years, so Dante being 35, that's halfway through life. Wonders of modern medicine, right? Also, midway along the journey of our life. Dante's name isn't even used in most of the poem. Instead, he's referred to as the pilgrim, and that's because we are meant to picture ourselves on this journey with him. Yes, it's just one person making the journey in the book to recognize the true nature of sin, to find ways to purge yourself of it so that you can arrive at the divine light, at heaven. But that's something that he wants us to go through ourselves and kind of come along with him and see what that looks like. You're not really supposed to wonder at the end what happens to Dante after this, what happens in his life. Instead, you're supposed to put the book down, step away, and see your life differently. Okay, so, but nevertheless, there are definitely aspects of the Pilgrim that make it clear that it's Dante from the start. First of all, he's a poet, and he acknowledges Virgil. Virgil's his favorite author. This is the same Virgil who wrote the Aeneid, by the way, which is why they refer to the son of Anchises as they introduced him. And yeah, Virgil also represents kind of reason, natural reason, which is it's a very important tool in the spiritual life, and it has a lot of importance in recognizing the nature of sin and trying to get over it, and even apprehending virtues and working those into your life in a better way. But it does not take you all the way to heaven. It does not take you all the way. At some point, you have to make a leap of faith. Faith must take over. And that is why, well, this is kind of hinted at in a couple ways. Number one, just how Virgil acts and talks. This is, again, a note from Mark Musa, who says that, notice that how Virgil is he refers to God as an emperor. And, is God an emperor? Not in the way that he means it. What he's thinking of is like a Roman emperor, where those of you who are familiar with the Gospels know very well, God's kingdom is not of this world. That's definitely not a one-to-one comparison. And then in the same way, Virgil is not going to be able to lead him all the way to paradise. So he represents reason insofar as reason can take you pretty far, but not all the way. But reason itself, again, is very powerful. And this is one more note from Mark Musa, then I'll leave him alone. The voice of reason has been silent in Dante's ear for a long time. And we're told that back in the passage where it says, that his eyes made out a figure coming towards him of one grown faint from too much silence. So Virgil is faint in his sight because Dante himself has not been listening to his reason for a long time. Because Virgil can only go so far, he is a soul that is in hell for this story, by the way. We're meant to wonder, why is he here? How is he able to be here for Dante? And he says that he was sent, in fact, to escort him, This was something that God permitted. Ordinarily, a soul in hell cannot leave hell at all. But for the sake of saving Dante, somebody has asked God to permit Virgil to be the guide to bring Dante through hell, scare him straight, so to speak, and through purgatory to show him and really purge him and show him how to be purged of sin. And I think that's all that we'll say for Canto 1.